which many of us don't understand due to our neglect of our women. Many of us, we don't even have facilities where our women can go and can learn. We have conferences and lectures set up, and the women and the children are all in one room, and the women can't even study. They can't even learn. Why? Because we can't even afford to have another facility where the children can run and play, and a separate facility for the women to come and learn. For those sisters who want to learn. So we have all of the women crammed up in one place. Some sisters having conversation, talking because they haven't seen each other in a while. Some children running around because the children, they haven't seen each other in a while. And some children just have no adab at all. And in the midst of all of that, you have 5 to 10 to 15 sisters who really came to learn. But because of our negligence and because of the fact that we are very stingy, as we have the money, we have money for everything else. Don't say we don't have the money. Wallahi, we have the money. We have money for everything else, except to have 2 separate facilities, one for the children and the women who want to talk, to go and conversate and fraternize, and one facility for the true students of knowledge from amongst our sisters who really want to learn. And until we can separate the two, we're going to always have the problem. Sisters, can you keep it down? Sisters, can you keep it down? Sisters, can you control your children? And the whole while there's a group from amongst the sisters that are really trying to learn, that are prevented from learning because of this. But the Prophet ﷺ, he set aside a day for the women. And this was only because he understood ﷺ that the women, number one, they have a tremendous status in Islam, and they have the same right to learn Islam just as the men do. Not only that, and then they say that there's no equality in Islam, that the men and women are not equal. And this is proof. We're not equal in respect to our gender, as this society has made us believe that men and women are equal. So now you have women who think they're men and men who think they're women. We're not equal in gender, but we're equal in religious responsibilities. And this is a proof that Islam does not stop the woman from educating herself, whether religiously or secularly. But it is us, due to our ignorance and due to our negligence and due to our narrow-mindedness, many of us, that we are the ones that prevent the women from learning, whether intentionally or unintentionally. And so they said to the Prophet ﷺ, the men have taken up all your time. They've taken full advantage of you. Set aside a day for the women so that we can come to you and learn from you that which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has taught you. And so the Prophet ﷺ set aside a day for them to educate them and to teach them from that which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has taught him. And from the admonition the Prophet ﷺ would give to the women, and look at the encouragement here. Look at the encouragement of the Prophet ﷺ. He would say, مَا مِن كُنَّ إِمْرَأَةٌ تَقَدَّمَ ثَلَاثَ مِنْ وَلَدِهَا يعني بَنَاتِهَا إِلَّا كَانَ لَهَا حِجَابًا مِنَ النَّارِ. And the Prophet ﷺ said that there's not one of you women who raises 3 daughters, except that those daughters will act as a hijab, as a covering or a shield from the hellfire Yawm al-Qiyamah. Look at the encouragement. This is called targhib. يُرَغِّبُهُنَّ فِي التَّعْلِيمِ وَالتَّعَلُّمِ. That he's encouraging the women to teach and educate themselves, and to teach their daughters. Where's that targhib? Where's that encouragement on our behalf? If we really want the women to learn, then we will set up facilities, we'll set up schools, Islamic centers, ma'ahad, centers for the sisters to come and learn. But we can't do that when we're spending all our money on other things. We can't do that when we have $200-300 cable bill. So instead of spending $300 to put towards a facility to open up for the women to learn, Islamic center for the women to learn, Dawah center for the women to learn, we're paying $300 for a phone bill, cell phone bill, $300 that we do nothing but ghiba on, or $300 on a TV, on a cable bill. And if we cut back on some of that stuff, and I'm not saying that all of it is haram, but what I am saying is that we need to prioritize. When are we going to have a system set up where this women can go and learn? Where the children can go and learn? After school programs for our children. Many of our children, they come home from school. After school, the first thing they do is run home to the TV, playing video games. Or they're busy with their secular homework. When do they learn Quran? When do they memorize Hadith? When do they learn etiquettes? When do our daughters learn how to cook, learn how to sew? When? The moment we stop playing with the religion of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and be more serious and prioritize. There's nothing for us to rent a building, renovate it, and make that an Islamic dawah center for the sisters. Where the kuffar women can come there and buy books, shop, and ask questions about Islam. Where our women can write newsletters, a weekly newsletter. And I mentioned this to the sisters before. A weekly or bi-weekly newsletter where the sisters can gather information from Fatawa, gather information off the internet, gather information from other places, even not just Islamic information, but even information about children, information about pregnancy. Compile all that information into a newsletter. Pass it out for free on Jumu'ah. But we're not even thinking on that level right now. We don't even have adequate enough space in the masjid, let alone opening up a dawah center for the sisters. And Sheikh Abdul Razak, the son of Sheikh Abdul Muhsin al-Abbad, he mentioned a story about a brother who he wanted sons, and his daughter had given birth to 5 sons. 5 daughters, excuse me. He wanted sons, and his daughter gave birth to 5 sons, 5 daughters. And he said to his wife, if you give birth to another daughter, I'm going to divorce you. I want sons. So she gave birth again to another daughter, which made 6 daughters. This is something that really took place. He said, then his wife got pregnant again, and he told her, this is it. If you don't give birth to a son this time, you're divorced. And she's saying, well, I don't have any control over what I have. He said, I understand that. But if you give birth to another daughter again, you're divorced. So that night, he went to sleep and he had a dream. And he saw in his dream that someone had taken him by the hand to a door. And when the door opened up, it was the hellfire. And one of his daughters was standing in the doorway with her arms stretched out so that he couldn't enter into the door. And then he went to another door. The door opened, he seen behind the door the hellfire. And he saw in the middle of the doorway another daughter of his. All the way up until he got to the 7th door. As we know that the hellfire has 7 gates. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, وَلَهَا سَبْعَةُ أَبْوَابٍ لِكُلِّ بَابٍ مِّنْهُ جُزْءٌ مَقْسُومٌ. That the hellfire has 7 gates, and each gate has a portion of the hellfire, depending on the severity or depending on depending on the level of the sin, the magnitude of the sin, will determine how severe the punishment in the hellfire is. So when he got to the 7th door, he realized that he only had 6 daughters. And when he got to the 7th door, he woke up scared. And that same night, his wife was giving birth. And so he rushed to the hospital and he asked the nurse, what did he have? Did his wife deliver yet? She said, no. He said, well, when my wife delivers, come and tell me what it was. What did he want now? Now he wanted a daughter. Now he wanted a daughter, because we know that daughters will protect you from going into the hellfire. The nurse came out and told him, you had a son. You got what you asked for. But look at the virtue that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given the women in Islam, that if you raise and educate and nurture a woman in Islam, that she will act as a hijab, she will protect you from entering into the hellfire. So this was targheeb, this was encouragement from the Prophet ﷺ to encourage the women to learn and educate their daughters. And when you look, as we talking to the sisters, when you look at the daughters of the Prophet ﷺ, Fatima, Zainab, Kulthum, Ruqayya,